Hello students, welcome to this theory session 6 of physical and chemical changes. We have till now studied about the chemical substance, about the chemical symbols, also about the chemical formula and the chemical reactions. Now we will be studying about some chemical changes which we come across in our routine life, like rust, like curdling of milk. Right? These are all what? Chemical changes. So we'll be studying about these changes in this session. So let's start with our theory session, students. As we have studied, changes can be broadly divided into two types: physical changes and chemical changes. Now, physical changes. Physical changes are the changes in which no new substances are formed. This we have done in our previous session, students. No new substances formed. Say for example, formation of ice when water is kept in a freezer is a physical change, because when ice is kept in open, it changes back to water. Right? Or if you say tear a piece of paper, there is change in the shape of that paper, but there is no change in the property of that paper. Does that paper become edible after tearing it? No. So there is no change in the chemical property of that paper. So it's a physical change. Likewise, formation of vapor from water, it's also a physical change. Water, the state of matter changes. Water changes from its liquid state to to gaseous state. Vapor is a gas, you must be knowing, right? So water changes from its liquid state to gas state. But that vapor can again be condensed. If that vapor is collected, then it will again change into water. You must have seen your mother cooking. What she does, say if she's cooking some vegetable, then if she covers the pan with a lid, you just take up the lid. After some time, you'll see some water on the lid. What is that? Water vapor formed from the water present in the vegetables, right? Say there is a vegetable bowl I can take. Say this is a pan. I'm not very good in drawing, students. This is a pan. Now in this there is vegetable, right? Now it is being cooked. This is a flame over here. Now what happens? Water, as it is being heated, what is produced here is water vapor. Now this water vapor collides with the lid and it turns back to water. What is it called? It is called as condensation. So water can be changed from one state to another. There is change in state, but there is no change in the properties, right? It's not that water vapor cannot be changed into water, or there is some chemical property which has been changed. Now, in most of the physical changes, properties such as color, shape, size, or physical form of the substance may change. Physical changes may or may not be reversible. So students, physical changes may be reversible or may not be. Say if I have tore piece of paper into small pieces. So can you just join those small papers back and get that original paper? No. But it's a physical change. Why? Because the chemical properties of that paper is not changed. You can still write on that paper if the pieces are big. Say if this is this big paper initially and you tore it into the small pieces. Now you can't just stick these papers and get that whole paper back. Or just take a hacksaw blade. So, what do you know what is an hacksaw blade? And keep it over the flame. What you'll find that this hacksaw blade turns red. Now this hacksaw blade turns red when it gets cool, so you keep it for some time, and then again that red color goes off, that its original color can be retained. So this is a physical change. Water to water vapor, a physical change. Ice to water, physical change. Hacksaw blade turning red, it just gets its color back if kept for a long time. So these are all what? Physical changes. Say hacksaw blade, there's change in the color. Change in the size if you tear the piece of paper. Ice candy. Keep it out for some time, it will melt. If you keep it in the refrigerator bag or deep freezer bag, it will again get settled. Right? So these are all reversible changes, or these are all physical changes. Can you get a raw vegetable from the cooked vegetable back? No. Say if there is cooked lady finger. So can you get that raw lady finger back from it? No. By no means you can get a raw lady finger from a cooked lady finger, or a raw potato from finger chips. So that is a chemical change. That chemical property of that particular vegetable has been changed. See, lady finger, when it's raw, it's sticky. But when it's cooked, is it sticky? No, it's yummy actually. You can't eat a raw lady finger. You can't eat a raw potato. But you can eat cooked potato or lady finger. Why? Because the chemicals which are present inside, they have undergone some reaction and there is a change. Okay? Now, let's study about chemical changes. A chemical change is brought about by a chemical reaction. Or, you can say a chemical change is also called as a chemical reaction. Right? Chemical reaction occurs when two or more chemical substances react to produce a new substance with a different set of properties. That is, the new substance which is produced has got altogether a different set of properties. A chemical change is permanent, and such changes are occurring all around us, even within our body. So everywhere these chemical changes are occurring. And see, even within our body, we are eating food. You must be knowing the components of food. What are the components of food? We eat carbohydrates. We eat proteins. You drink milk. You eat nuts. They contain proteins. We eat fats in the form of oil or ghee or butter. Now they go inside the body. Carbohydrates just breaks up into simple forms like glucose. Proteins, they break up into amino acids. Fats, it again break up into smaller molecules. So these are what? These are all the chemical reactions or chemical changes which are taking place within our body. Right? Now, here is one example, students. Reddish brown deposition on iron objects. You must have seen iron tools. Now what happens if we leave an iron object such as iron tools like spade, or this is bolt, or khurpi, what you call in Hindi, right? So spade or hacksaw blade or any iron object, bolt, out in the rain, what happens? A reddish brown layer is deposited in its surface after few days. You must have seen that. Even in your bicycle, bicycle handles which are made of iron, a reddish brown layer is deposited over it. Now this layer is called as rust, and the process is called rusting. See this bolt here. This particular reddish brown layer I am talking about. This particular reddish brown layer. Why this reddish brown layer is formed? If you keep iron objects outside, this reddish brown layer is deposited over it. Why so? Or what is it? This is rust. Right? Now, why is rust so formed? The layer of rust that forms falls off gradually, exposing fresh metal for further rusting. See, you must have seen that bolt, or for experiment you can do it. Just keep an iron object like hacksaw blade or spade, like any other iron tool outside, like iron scissors which are used for cutting your plants. Just keep it for outside, you'll see the reddish brown layer over it. Now if you just scratch it, what happens? Or scrub it, the reddish brown layer falls off. Even if you'll not scrub it, it falls off after some time. And again the fresh metal is exposed. See, this is the metal, and above it is the formation of, say, I'm drawing it red, it is reddish brown. You have to imagine that it's reddish brown. It's actually difficult, huh? It's not red, it's reddish brown. I can't draw red here. I'll just write here, okay? It's a reddish brown layer. Now this reddish brown layer falls off. How it falls off? It falls off after some time. Now again a fresh piece of metal will be exposed. Now what happens? See, as a result, with the passage of time, iron objects become weak. Now how it takes place that there is some formation of reddish brown thing and your iron is getting weak and weak and weak? Why so? This is because iron reacts with oxygen of the air in the presence of moisture to form a substance called iron oxide, which is called as rust. The reddish brown layer which is there is of rust. And rust is formed how? The iron present in the surface reacts with oxygen in the presence of moisture to form iron oxide. That iron oxide is in the form of reddish brown powder. Now let's see this chemical equation or reaction for this. Iron plus oxygen of the atmosphere plus water gives iron oxide. Now students, do you know the chemical symbol for iron? It is Fe, right? In iron oxide, there are 2 atoms of iron and 3 atoms of oxygen. Right? So how many atoms of iron are there? 2 and 3 atoms of oxygen. So how can we represent iron oxide? By chemical formula. What will be the chemical formula of iron oxide? What is the symbol of iron? Symbol of iron is derived from its Latin name, ferrum, and its symbol is Fe. Right? Now, let's write the symbol side by side. What is the symbol for oxygen? It's O. How many atoms of iron are there? 2. How many atoms of oxygen are there? 3. So this is iron oxide. Right? How it is formed? It is formed by the reaction of iron with oxygen and water of atmosphere, forming iron oxide. Remember students, rusting is increased Remember this thing, right? What I'm going to write over here is rusting is increased in salt water. So the parts of the ship which are dipped in salt water, they are more exposed or more prone to rusting. Right? So this iron oxide is formed, it is in the form of powder, it just falls off and exposes a fresh iron for this reaction. Okay? So, what are the essential conditions for rusting? What is the reaction? What is the reaction? It's iron plus oxygen plus water. So these are the reactants. They are giving what? Iron oxide, which is rust. So what are the essential conditions? Oxygen and water. If they are not there, iron will not get rusted, right? So oxygen and water are two essential conditions for essential, you can say, requirements for rusting of iron. It's not condition. These are the two essential things or components for rusting. Components for rusting of iron. Absence of either one of them or both of them can prevent rusting. Say if oxygen is absent or water is absent, rusting can be prevented. But is it the thing, can there be any place in the world or where there is neither oxygen nor water? No. Oiling trowels and other iron objects protects the surface from moisture and air and hence prevents rusting. So if you oil the surface of kurpi or the iron scissor which is used, or hacksaw blade or bolt, any of the iron object, so what will happen? See, if this is a particular iron object, an iron bar you can say. Now if I am coating this iron object with oil, see this oil. Now this oil has formed a layer above this iron object. Getting my point? So this is what? This is iron. And I am coating it with oil. So this is oil. Now oil has formed a layer above or around iron. Thus this iron is not exposed to air or water. Is my point clear? So the iron is not exposed to air or water. So this can protect iron from rusting, or this prevents rusting. So always keep on oiling your bicycle. It will prevent its rusting. So any technique, any method which is just covering the surface of iron and preventing it from its exposure to the atmosphere will prevent rusting. Right? So this is a chemical change, because this change is permanent. This change is permanent, and at the same time a new object is formed, a new substance is formed. Initially there was iron. Initially there is oxygen. Initially there is water. But when they react, they form iron oxide. Where has this oxygen gone? Where has this iron gone? They all have formed a compound called iron oxide. And this iron oxide has got altogether different properties from iron. Iron can't be scrubbed off from its surface. It can't fall down. What falls off is iron oxide, because it is because of its powdery nature. Right? So this is a permanent change, and it's a chemical change. Now, galvanization is a process in which iron objects are coated with zinc to prevent them from rusting. It's just sacrificial, students. Zinc is more reactive than iron. Right? See, zinc is more reactive than iron. Right? So if I'm taking an iron object and coating it with a layer of zinc. So students, I hope you have enjoyed this session. Now you're aware of rusting. Now you can keep your cycle or prevent your cycle from getting rusted. Just oil it up. Right? So whatever iron objects are exposed to the atmosphere, just put a layer of oil over it and it will be prevented from rusting. Right? So thank you, students, for listening patiently, and do have a nice time ahead.